皆さん、こんにちは。ケニーエチゼンです。今日は特別な日ですね。なんと、スペシャルゲストにミスター・アレンハインズがいます。Hello, Alan.
Hello.
えっと、
Konnichiwa,
こんに
Alan
ち
Hinds
は。
です。
えアレンと僕はですね、もう10年以上長いこと付き合ってまして、僕が MY の生徒だった頃から、ずっと、仲良くしてよくしてもらってます。で、今からちょっと英語で話しますから、これからちょっと字幕を後でつけますので、それを読んでください。Alright, Alan.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah.
Yep.
So how you guys got about 10. Two of them were from the audience that I specifically chose from. One guy asked, do you change your settings on your amps/pedals every time you switch guitars, and also any tips on dialing in the soul-driven pedal, and when do you use it?
No, I keep pretty much. I keep all the settings pretty much the same. I kind of have all my guitars tuned kind of the same way. I mean, tuned as in
Right.
sonically. I use the treble pickup mostly exclusively anyway. So and they're all kind of in the same EQ. None of my guitars are too bassy or too mid-rangey. So any adjustments I might do would be from the guitar itself, and that's rare.
All right. Another question. One of the members of the club was at one of your clinics in Japan, and he asked about your rhythm playing and how you feel rhythm. And you answered, I always hear triplets in my head, and it's not square. That's what you answered. That was your answer.
Well, it's like go ahead.
And then so can you be a little more descriptive in
Like,
that?
I think it's kind of like gears of a clock. There's like, in your head, you might have one that's going cluck, 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 cluck. Then when there's another gear going cluck, 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 and there's another one's going, like divided up. So these different little gears, ratios that you can go to. Actually, that's what I was talking about before. I'm getting one of my exercises on my new legato package is going like, and just keeping like straight 16ths and going. Going between triplets and swung, and that's a good thing to be able to do whenever you feel it. So at random, and that's where you want to be, is at random with this. Whenever you feel it, to be able to kind of shift gears into that other gear.
Right, without kind of going ahead or behind the beat.
Yeah, and
So on your previous Zoom lessons, you had a great list of essential listening, but they were very spread out in genre-wise. You had like Joni Mitchell, James Taylor, to Led Zeppelin, to Little Feat, and they're all great. Do you listen to certain elements for certain music, and what do you listen for in these artists? Because for maybe Led Zeppelin, you listen to Jimmy Page's guitar riff, or in Joni Mitchell, you listen to the songwriting, or both. I don't know.
It's mostly songwriting, man. The song, I don't know if it's like a really great guitar solo on a really simple progression that means nothing, then it's interesting. But I gravitate towards songwriting more than anything. If it's a great melody, you can remember it's a great groove, it makes you feel a certain way. That's much more interesting to me. Sometimes after the first couple beats, it makes you feel a certain way. It could be a groove, it could be a harmonic element of the song, but yeah, music is really emotional. And if I hear something that's like a sad song, or I hear the first few measures of Waltz for Tina, or one of my songs like that, it automatically puts me in a mood. And it's not because the song is difficult or it's hard to play, but it has a mood, So I think the mood of a song is everything. I think that makes sense.
Totally. Nice. Another question. We got about 6 more. What are the things in your playing that changed over the past, let's say 10, 20, 30 years, and were you able to play like how you play now when you're like in your 20s, like when you were at MI? If not, how did it develop over the years?
I think I had the general tone and feel when I was younger, like in my 20s, because I was already holding the pick in a strange way, and I was already trying to sound like Robin Ford and Alan Holdsworth. But so I had the general feel and the general tone. I don't know about. I think tone and overall phrasing is a maturity thing. I think I got that just with life experiences and playing so much music that different phrases became more natural to me. If that makes sense. If you heard me play back when I was a student, I probably still sounded like me. I did the legato thing probably just naturally. The tone wasn't quite there. The ideas weren't that good. You know, that all got better with age, I think. I would like to think.
Okay, cool. Next question. After being mainly a sideman session player during the earlier years in your professional life, what was the reason for you to become a solo artist? Right around the time I met you back in 04, 03.
Yeah, that's right. That's when I did my first record, right? 2005.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember buying it off you like directly. I gave you, I forgot how much I gave you, $15 or something like that for the record.
I knew I had a couple songs that were like mine, they're original, and that they needed to get out there. I just kind of felt strongly about like Waltz for Tina or Fact of the Matter. I kind of had those ideas in my head. And I said, man, I got to get, I still do that now. If I had like one little idea that like sticks in my head, I go, man, I got to make this into a song because it has a potential to be something. Plus, I just kind of wanted to do my own thing. I wanted more, I have a bigger enough ego where I wanted to be the attention more, probably.
So you just decide one day you just decide to be like, I'm going to write a record. I'm going to put together the songs I've been written for the past 15, 20 years. And
we were all playing around town. And all of a sudden I was playing with a really good band. I said, man, I should get these guys to play my songs. And so, like Joey Heredia and Nato Neto in the band, or Steve Weingart. And I said, man, we should do some of my songs. Yeah.
I still listen to it and it sounds freaking awesome, man.
It still sounds good. It holds up. I mean,
definitely.
I was gonna play Monkeys and Slides today because that one has like a really hard solo section for playing over chord changes. Come on, Boo.
Who wants to join in?
All
right. So kind of continue on the previous question. It is very hard for anybody to find their own voice or identity as a player, as a musician, writer, whatever it may be, instrumentalist. And you have a very undeniable, one-of-a-kind voice where anybody can tell that it's you. And how were you able to develop that, and around when in your career? It's kind of repeating the question, but kind of going a little bit more deeper. Like, were there any sort of a turning point to where you're like, oh, this is like what I do?
Yeah, I think it's probably a combination of, you have when you start writing songs, when I listen to my own songs, there's like several things I kind of repeat, certain little chord movements, certain little twists in the tonality, whatever. Sometimes that becomes part the way you kind of hear a melody over certain chord changes or whatever can kind of define your style, kind of. So that's part of it. Part of it is like writing. A lot of it's writing. I mean, you discover a whole lot of who you are and what you want to be by writing stuff.
Okay, so in the music industry or the music scene, it is pretty common for peers, especially other guitar players, to label other musicians as like a jazz guy or a rock guy or gospel, metal, whatever it may be, because you have such a distinct sound and playing. Do you feel any limitations from getting specific gigs that you thought you had done a great job, but they didn't call you because they thought you wouldn't be the right fit?
Yeah, I mean, probably more, not as much gigs, but more like sessions and stuff. Because I remember back in the 90s, I'd get called for sessions to say, hey, can you do that Larry Carlton thing? Or, hey, can you do that Michael Landau thing? Can you do that Steve Lukather thing? And I would always say, of course. And then I'd go in there and I couldn't really do it, So gigs, I mean, the one thing that kept me from getting more gigs is I don't really sing. Even though I did sing some background with Randy Crawford, it wasn't, it had me down so low in the mix. Sure. But, and I got spooked a couple of times. I tried to sing at Lava Lee at the club in Los Angeles, and I sounded so bad to myself that I told myself I'd never sing again. But that probably kept me. The guys who seem to be able to work.
Totally. So, French writer Voltaire once said, "Originality is nothing but judicious limitations." Do you
That's,
think?
that's kind of what we're talking about, right?
Yeah. So do you? So exactly. I'm glad we're going through this. It's a smooth transition. Do you think so regarding on your playing and your songwriting then? Because your sound is so original, it is very hard to pick out the influences until you mention it. Because I know you really like Joni. I know you really like how James write or Zeppelin. And there's that one new song that you wrote that was somewhat of a Zeppelin vibe to it. But you never know. Like some other songs, there might be a Zeppelin influence, but unless you pointed it out, nobody would have noticed it. So, what
Yeah.
inspired you? What inspired you to write your music and the sound making process?
Yeah, it's a momentum thing. You get like one idea, and it might be enough of an idea to make you go to your computer and put it down with a drum groove, and then that might turn into something you weren't expecting, or it might destroy whatever idea you had, and then you're kind of stuck. And there's a lot of ideas I had that go nowhere, but it might be like a Rolling Stone that picks up some extra steam and go, oh, this song actually has a cool thing. What if I did this? And then melodically, where you hear melodies and stuff will take you to new sections. Sometimes you just throw caution to the wind. You have a part from another song you put together and it works. I don't. When I think back to my songs like "Falling Up" and those songs like that, they had like the bridge, the whole middle section. I'm not sure how I came up with that. I think I just said I want something different here. How about this? And then you kind of
Any advices on taking chances while playing live? And how far will you go? Do you play it safe when you're in front of a huge crowd or when people are expecting a polished performance rather than somewhere like the Baked Potato or Lava Lady used to be?
if it's my own gig where we have like that's why I like a lot of my songs just have like one chord vamps for
Right.
solos, and then we kind of create what you want to. Then it's just like it's wide open. Whatever you want to do is fine. When I used to tour with Randy Crawford or Gino Vanelli or whoever, I had like an 8-bar, a 16-bar, a 32-bar solo in front of 10,000 people, I would not improvise. I would have like 3 or 4 ideas
Right.
because I think we. So with Gino Vanelli's, who had Brother to Brother, big epic guitar
Oh
solo,
yeah.
and I had like 2 or 3 ideas I could go. It was improvised in the fact that I could go to any of those places, but they were kind of worked out and they were all good. So I knew that if I was in front of 10,000 people, there's no way I'm going to improvise and have a sucky night. I wouldn't. It'd be irrespectful to the audience. I mean, to the artist.
Last question. What are the biggest change in your personal or internal? What are the biggest changes in you personally or internally that's not music or guitar related in the past 10 years? And how much are they intentional and how much are they just from aging gracefully?
Wow. Well, I've had.
Sure, I'm sure we all will. I'm sure you will too. In the next 10 years, 20 years, you will continue to grow and, personally and as a player as well. And
Certainly
also,
helped.
yeah, I think we all will.
Yeah.
And yeah, a lot of the times, I people when somebody describes my playing, they say like I play guitar with 5 middle fingers. Because like this, five of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know, it's pretty funny, but I feel like my personality is a little bit like that. I'm not in a more of an asshole way, but just who I am. I never bullshit with people, and
Well, your playing to me sounds very. It's always been really well grounded and it always made sense. And it was always, I'm doing this. I'm doing this. God damn it, I'm doing this.
right.
It's like there was never. When I, it's true. I can think of a lot of other people.
I think the main goal for guitar player is to uh, express themselves, who they are through the guitar. So, like you were saying, thank you about my playing, where it's very grounded. Where this is my point. God damn it, this is what I'm going to do, and this is
Yeah, and you play with a lot of authority
right,
that sets you apart from the regular average guitar player.
right. And I think that's what makes that separates them from the boys. So they say where you play like how you talk, you play like who you are, and it's really hard to do because you know the only way to describe, explain, or express who we are without the guitar is how we talk. But we have the gift to express ourselves and tell people who we are through our instruments. So I think that's just like it's not really a question, but just kind of train of thought, so to speak. Yeah. But yeah,
cool.
These are great answers. Because a lot of the interviews that people do, with you is like, what kind of pick do you use, or what kind of strings?
No, those are good questions.
It's all the gear stuff is cool, but since I've known you for such a long time, I feel like I already know the answer before you answer them. So I always wanted to kind of dive in deep. It'd
be easy for you to translate.
What's that?
It'd be easy for you to translate.
Exactly. Just as a personal, as a friend, I wanted to just kind of get into who you are as a musician and as a person a little bit more. And I think people would appreciate this, especially the Japanese audience who, knows who you are and, through paper and your music. But I think there's more to it than that with Alan Hinds, I thought. So that's why I wanted to show that to the world.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, man. I hope you have success with this thing. It was a nice interview.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll definitely put this. It's gonna be hard for me to put the captions on it, but it's gonna be a fun one for sure. Thank you. Well, let me switch to Japanese real quick and just.
Okay.
皆さん、ご視聴ありがとうございました。他にアレンになんか質問がありましたら、コメント欄か、僕にメッセージをください。Thanks again, Alan.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Have fun. Hello to everybody I know in Japan, and take care. Be safe.
Thanks.
We will see you next year. Later this year.
Cross your fingers.
I hope. All right, man. Take care.